Welcome to Zoe Stories. I went to a party as myself, they call me transgender, and it changed everything. My name is Arav, and for as long as I can remember, I've always struggled with being just a guy. Not because I didn't like who I was, but because something inside me felt different. I wasn't sure exactly how to explain it, but I always found comfort in clothes and styles that didn't quite fit the typical guy mold. Secretly, I loved experimenting with fashion, makeup, and expression that leaned a little more feminine, though I never told anyone. For years, I lived a double life. By day, I was the average college guy, playing cricket, attending classes, and hanging out with my friends. But behind closed doors, I explored a world where I could be myself fully, wearing dresses, painting my nails, trying on wigs, and feeling free for just a little while. The thrill of those moments was my escape, but I never imagined it would lead me to the most nerve-wracking night of my life. The story starts on a typical Friday evening. My college friends were throwing a big party at one of their houses. Everyone was excited, buzzing about the music, the crowd, and the chance to unwind after a long week. I decided I would go, this time as myself. Not the usual R of the guy, but R of the person who wore what made him happy, who wasn't hiding anymore. I picked out a sleek black dress I'd recently bought, something edgy but elegant, with just the right amount of sparkle. I remember staring at my reflection for what felt like hours, applying makeup with trembling hands, wondering if this was a huge mistake. What would my friends think? What if someone laughed? What if I got kicked out? But there was a part of me screaming, "This is who you are." I decided to own it. When I stepped out of my room and into the night, I felt the familiar rush of adrenaline mixed with fear. The party was already loud, filled with laughter, music, and dancing bodies. Everyone was dressed in their usual casual wear, jeans, t-shirts, sneakers, but I stood out in my dress and heels. For a moment, I felt exposed, but then I reminded myself, I was here to be real. At first, the reaction was surprisingly positive. Some friends complimented my look, calling me bold or saying I looked amazing. My heart swelled with pride. But then, as the night went on, the mood shifted. A group of guys gathered near the entrance, whispering and watching me. One of them, a guy I thought was a friend, smirked and called out loud enough for the whole room to hear. "Hey bro, you look amazing. Wait, are you transgender or something?" The room froze. All eyes were on me. My heart stopped. That one sentence shattered everything I'd been trying to hold together. The silence was suffocating, heavy with judgment and curiosity. I could feel the weight of their stares, some filled with shock, others with mockery, and a few with genuine confusion. I didn't know what to say. Should I lie? Should I run? Should I just smile and pretend it was a joke? But the truth was right there, right under the surface of my skin, waiting to be embraced or rejected. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just Arv anymore. I was something different in their eyes, a secret out in the open, a challenge to their norms, a story that had to be told. I spent the rest of the night caught between wanting to hide and needing to be seen. The party that was supposed to be fun became a battleground for my identity. Some friends approached me quietly afterward, offering support and admiration. Others avoided me, their eyes full of questions I didn't have answers for. By the time I left that party, I knew one thing for sure. My life would never be the same. The morning after the party, Arav woke up feeling like his whole world was flipped upside down. The memory of the whispered words echoed loud in his mind. "Hey bro, you look amazing. Wait, are you transgender or something?" It wasn't just an insult or a joke. It was a label, one that made him feel exposed, raw, and strangely vulnerable. He couldn't stop replaying the moment, the silence that followed, the stares, the whispers behind his back. Even those who had seemed supportive now felt different. There was a quiet tension in the air whenever he crossed paths with them. A mixture of curiosity and unspoken questions filled the space where easy friendship once was. At college, things grew more complicated. Some classmates openly stared, some whispered rumors, and a few distant friends avoided him altogether. Arav's heart ached, not just because of their judgment, but because he had dared to be himself, and now it felt like a punishment. Yet, Amidst the chaos, there was a small but fierce flame burning inside him. The truth was, he never felt freer than when he was dressed the way he wanted. The dress, the makeup, the heels, they weren't just clothes. They were pieces of his soul finally breaking out. For the first time in years, Arav glimpsed the possibility of a life where he didn't have to hide. But reality hit hard. At home, his parents noticed the shift. They asked questions he wasn't ready to answer. His mother's worried glances, his father's silent sighs, they felt like walls closing in. Arav realized he had to be careful, or risk losing everything he cared about. Ellie, his girlfriend, became both his refuge and his biggest challenge. She had always loved him, or so he thought, but now there was a distance growing between them. Ellie wasn't sure how to react to this new side of Arav. Was she supportive, confused, or scared? One evening, after a tense day at college, Arav sat with Ellie in their small apartment. The air between them was thick with unspoken words. "Are you really okay with all this?" Ellie asked softly, eyes searching his face. "I don't know," Arav admitted. "I just want to be me. But it's hard when everyone's watching, judging." Ellie reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "I want to understand. I really do." That moment gave Arav hope. Maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have to face this alone. Still, the outside world was relentless. Arav's secret life became harder to hide. The fear of being found out haunted him every day. He tried to balance his two worlds, the boy his parents and friends expected, and the person he longed to be. The dress, once a symbol of freedom, now felt like a double-edged sword. He'd worn it again once, at a small gathering with trusted friends, and felt the rush of joy and terror mingling inside him. The makeup brush against his skin was soothing, but every mirror reflected the risk he was taking. One night, as Arav was getting ready to go out in his full cross-dress persona, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. His heart raced. Who could it be? Ellie? A neighbor? Someone from college? Peering through the peephole, Arav saw a familiar face, Rohan, one of the guys who had called him transgender at the party. Panic surged. Arav's mind screamed at him to hide, to change, to become normal again. But Rohan wasn't there to mock or confront. Instead, he looked nervous, uncertain. "Hey, Arav," he said awkwardly when Arav opened the door. "Can we talk?" Inside, tension hung thick. Arav didn't know if this was a trap or an olive branch. Rohan surprised him. "Look, I wasn't sure what to say at the party. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I've been thinking a lot about it, and honestly, I don't get it, but I want to understand." The vulnerability in Rohan's voice shook Arav. This was a chance, maybe the start of acceptance. But the road ahead was far from smooth. Arav knew that every step forward meant risking rejection, heartbreak, and exposure. Through sleepless nights, whispered secrets, and stolen moments of confidence, Arav's transformation was no longer just about clothes or makeup. It was about claiming his identity, demanding respect, and fighting the fear that threatened to consume him. Days passed, and Arav's world grew increasingly tangled. Rohan's unexpected visit had opened a small crack of hope, but the tension outside only thickened. Rumors spread faster than wildfire, and college corridors felt like battlegrounds. Arav found himself constantly glancing over his shoulder, heart pounding at every whisper or sideways glance. Then came the invitation, an official college gala, a night where Arav's entire social circle would be in one place. The pressure was immense. This event was his chance to prove he could be himself openly, or else risk everything. Ellie was quiet about it at first, her support wavering like a candle flame in the wind. "Are you sure about this?" she asked one evening, eyes full of worry. "I have to," Arav said firmly. "I can't keep hiding." The night of the gala arrived. Arav spent hours preparing, a stunning outfit carefully chosen, makeup that enhanced his features, and shoes that made him feel powerful and vulnerable all at once. The mirror reflected a person transformed, confident, radiant, yet trembling beneath the surface. At the venue, the atmosphere was electric. Music pulsed through the halls, laughter and chatter swirling like a storm. Arv stepped into the crowd, feeling every eye on him like a physical touch. Then came the moment he dreaded. Rohan approached. But this time, Rohan wasn't alone. Beside him stood a group Arv had feared. The college bullies, the judgmental peers, faces twisted with smirks and curiosity. "Look who's out tonight," one sneered loudly. "Is this a joke or what?" Arv's heart hammered, sweat slicking his palms. He felt exposed, like prey in a spotlight. Suddenly, a hand gripped his shoulder. It was Ellie. "Enough," she said sharply, eyes blazing. "Arv is brave, and you all should be ashamed." The room fell silent. Ellie's fierce defense was unexpected, and it shifted the energy. But the night wasn't over. As Arv moved through the crowd, a sharp tug at his wig sent it slipping, revealing his natural hairline. Gasps echoed. Panic surged through him, but before he could react, Ellie quickly steadied the wig, covering the slip. "You okay?" she whispered urgently. "I am now," Arv replied, heart racing. The incident was a turning point. Some people laughed, others stared, but many looked away with respect. Arv realized that vulnerability was not weakness, it was strength. Later, as the gala wound down, Arv found himself alone on the balcony, gazing at the city lights. His phone buzzed, a message from Rohan. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we start over?" Arv smiled, tears threatening to spill. This journey was far from over, but tonight had proven that courage could break chains. The gala lights dimmed, and guests slowly drifted away, their whispers still hanging in the air like faint echoes. Arv stood on the balcony, feeling the cool night breeze brush against his face, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions inside him. His heart was pounding, not from fear, but from the raw exhilaration of finally stepping out into the world as his true self. But beneath that exhilaration lurked uncertainty, a quiet question that refused to leave his mind. What happens now? His phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from Ellie. "No matter what, I'm here." Arv's lips curved into a shaky smile, but before he could respond, the balcony door creaked open. He turned, expecting Ellie to step out again, but instead saw a shadowed figure he hadn't noticed before, someone watching him with an unreadable expression. The figure took a step forward. Arv's pulse quickened. "Hey," the voice was low, hesitant. "Can we talk?" It was Rohan. Arv's breath hitched. After everything, the betrayal, the silence, the shock of that night, Rohan was here. But what did he want now? Was it forgiveness, revenge, or something else entirely? Arv hesitated, then nodded slowly. As the two faced each other under the dim glow of the city lights, the world seemed to hold its breath. Would Arv finally find acceptance? Or was this just the beginning of a new, deeper storm?